The Man That Corrupted Hadleyburg. 1. It was many years ago. Hadleyburg was the most honest and upright town in all the region about. It had kept that reputation unsmirched during 3 generations and was prouder of it than any of its other possessions. I was so proud of it and so anxious to ensure its perpetuation that it began to teach its principles of honest dealing to its babies in the cradle, and made the like teachings the staple of their culture thenceforward through all the years devoted to their education. Also, throughout the formative years, temptations were kept out of the way of the young people so that their honesty could have every chance to harden and solidify, and became a part of their very bone. And the neighboring towns were jealous of this honorable supremacy, and affected to sneer at Hadleyburg's pride in it, and call it vanity. But all the same, they were obliged to acknowledge that Hadleyburg was, in reality, an incorruptible town, and if pressed, they would also acknowledge that the mere fact that a young man hailed from Hadleyburg was all the recommendation he needed when he went forth from his natal town to seek for responsible employment. But at last, in the drift of time, Hadleyburg had the ill luck to offend a passing stranger, possibly without knowing it, certainly without caring, for Hadleyburg was sufficient unto itself, and cared not for a rap of strangers or their opinions. Still, it would have been well to make an exception in this one's case, for he was a bitter man and revengeful. All through his wanderings during the whole year he kept his injury in mind, and gave all his leisure moments to trying to invent a compensating satisfaction for it. He contrived many plans, and all of them were good, but none of them was quite sweeping enough. The poorest of them would hurt a great many individuals, but what he wanted was a plan which would comprehend the entire town, and not let so much as one person escape unhurt. At last he had a fortunate idea, and when it fell into his brain, it lit up his whole head with an evil joy. He began to form a plan at once, saying to himself, "That is the thing to do. I will corrupt the town." 6 months later, he went to Hadleyburg and arrived in a buggy at the house of the old cashier of the bank about 10 o'clock at night. He got a sack out of the buggy, shouldered it, and staggered with it through the cottage yard, and knocked at the door. A woman's voice said, "Come in," and he entered and set his sack behind the stove in the parlor, saying politely to the old lady who sat reading the Missionary Herald by the lamp, "Pray, keep your seat, madame. I will not disturb you. There now, it is pretty well concealed. One would hardly know it was there. Can I see your husband a moment, madame?" "No, he was gone to Brixton, and might not return before morning." "Very well, madame. It is no matter. I merely wanted to leave that sack in his care, to be delivered to the rightful owner. When he shall be found, I am a stranger. He does not know me. I am merely passing through the town tonight to discharge a matter which has been long in my mind. My errand is now completed, and I go pleased and a little proud, and you will never see me again. There is a paper attached to the sack which will explain everything. Good night, madame." The old lady was afraid of the mysterious big stranger, and was glad to see him go, but her curiosity was roused, and she went straight to the sack and brought away the paper. It began as follows: "To be published, or the right man sought out by a private inquiry. Either will answer. This sack contains gold coin weighing 160 pounds 4 ounces. Mercy on us, and the door not locked. Mr. Richards flew to it all in a tremble, and locked it. then pulled down the window shades and stood frightened, worried, and wondering if there was anything else she could do toward making herself and the money more safe. She listened a while for burglars, then surrendered to curiosity and went back to the lamp and finished reading the paper. I am a foreigner, and am presently going back to my own country, to remain there permanently. I am grateful to America for what I have received at her hands during my long stay under her flag, and to one of her citizens, a citizen of Hadleyburg, I am especially grateful for a great kindness done to me a year or two ago. 2 great kindnesses, in fact. I will explain. I was a gambler. I say I was. I was a ruined gambler. I arrived in this village at night hungry and without a penny. I asked for help in the dark. I was ashamed to beg in the light. I begged of the right man. He gave me $20, that is to say, he gave me life, as I considered it. He also gave me a fortune, for out of that money I have made myself rich at the gaming table. And finally, a remark which he made to me has remained with me to this day, and has at last conquered me, and in conquering has saved the remnant of my morals. I shall gamble no more. Now I have no idea who that man was, but I want him found, and I want him to have this money to give away, throw away, or keep as he pleases. It is merely my way of testifying my gratitude to him. If I could stay, I would find him myself, but no matter. He will be found. This is an honest town, an incorruptible town, and I know I can trust it without fear. This man can be identified by the remark which he made to me. I feel persuaded that he will remember it. And now my plan is this. If you prefer to conduct the inquiry privately, do so. Tell the contents of this present writing to anyone who is likely to be the right man. If he shall answer, I am the man, the remark I made was so and so. Apply the test, to wit, open the sack, and in it you will find a sealed envelope containing that remark. If the remark mentioned by the candidate tallies with it, give him the money and ask no further questions, for he is certainly the right man. But if you should prefer a public inquiry, then publish this present writing in the local paper with these instructions added, to wit, 30 days from now, let the candidate appear at the town hall at 8 in the evening, Friday, and hand his remark in a sealed envelope to the Reverend Mr. Burgess, if he will be kind enough to act, and let Mr. Burgess there. Then destroy the seals of the sack, open it, and see if the remark is correct. If correct, let the money be delivered, with my sincere gratitude to my benefactor thus identified. Miss Richards sat down, gently quivering with excitement, and was soon lost in thinkings after this pattern. What a strange thing it is, and what a fortune for that kind of man who set his bread afloat upon the waters. If it had only been my husband that did it, for we are so poor, so old and poor. Then, with a sigh, but it was not my Edward, no, it was not he that gave a stranger $20. It is a pity, too, I see it now. Then, with a shudder, but it is gambler's money. The wages of sin, we couldn't take it. We couldn't touch it. I don't like to be near it. It seems a defilement. She moved to a farther chair. I wish Edward would come and take it to the bank. A burglar might come at any moment. It is dreadful to be here, all alone with it. At 11, Mr. Richards arrived, and while his wife was saying, "I am so glad you've come," he was saying, "I'm so tired. Tired clear out. It is dreadful to be poor, and to have to make these dismal journeys at my time of life. Always at the grind on a salary. Another man's slave, and he sitting at home in his slippers, rich and comfortable. I'm so sorry for you, Edward. You know that. But be comforted. We have our livelihood. We have our good name. Yes, Mary, and that is everything. Don't mind my talk. It is just a moment's irritation, and doesn't mean anything. Kiss me there. It's all gone now. And I am not complaining anymore. What have you been getting? What's in the sack? Then his wife told him the great secret. It dazed him for a moment. Then he said, "It weighs 160 pounds. Why, Mary, it's $40,000, think of it. A whole fortune. Not 10 men in this village are worth that much. Give me the paper." He skimmed through it and said, "Isn't it an adventure? Why, it's a romance. It's like the impossible things one reads about in books and never sees in life." He was well stirred up now, cheerful and even gleeful. He tapped his old wife on the cheek and said humorously, "Why, we're rich, Mary, rich. All we've got to do is bury the money and burn the papers. If the gambler ever comes to inquire, we'll merely look coldly upon him and say, 'What is this nonsense you're talking? We have never heard of you and your sack of gold before,' and then he would look foolish, and in the meantime, while you were running on with your jokes, the money is still here, and it is fast getting along toward burglar time." "True, very well. What shall we do? Make the inquiry private?" "No, not that. It would spoil the romance. The public method is better, I think. What a noise it will make, and it will make all the other towns jealous, for no stranger would trust such a thing to any town but Hadleyburg, and they know it. It's a great card for us. I must get to the printing office now, or I shall be too late. But stop, don't leave me here alone with it, Edward." But he was gone for only a little while, however. Not far from his own house, he met the proprietor of the paper, and gave him the document, and said, "Here is a good thing for you. Cox put it in. It may be too late, Mr. Richards, but I'll see." At home again, he and his wife sat down to talk. The charming mystery over, they were in no condition for sleep. The first question was, who could the citizen have been who gave the stranger $20? It seemed a simple one. Both answered it in the same breath. "Barclay, good son." "Yes," said Richards. "He could have done it, and it would have been like him. But there's not another in town. Everybody will grant that, Edward. Grant it privately, anyways. For 6 months now, the village has been its own proper self once more. Honest, narrow, self-righteous, and stingy. It is what he always called it, to the day of his death. Said it right out publicly, too, and yes, and he was hated for it. Well, of course, but he didn't care. I reckon he was the best hated man among us, except the Reverend Burgess. Well, Burgess deserves it. He will never get another congregation here. Mean as the town is, it knows how to estimate him. Edward, doesn't it seem odd that the stranger should appoint Burgess to deliver the money?" "Well, yes, it does. That is... Why so much that is-ing? Would you select him?" "Mary, maybe the stranger knows something about knows him better than this village does. Much that would help Burgess." "Well, perhaps people make judgments based on what they do know and pick somebody. It's not necessarily that they know something different. Very often they don't know something that factors towards the thing. Anyways, much that would help Burgess." My husband seemed perplexed for an answer. The wife kept a steady eye upon him and waited. Finally Richard said, with the hesitancy of one who is making a statement which is likely to encounter doubt, "Mary, Burgess is not a bad man." His wife was certainly surprised. "Nonsense," she exclaimed. "He is not a bad man. I know the whole of his unpopularity had its foundation in that one thing, the thing that made so much noise. That one thing indeed, as if that one thing wasn't enough all by itself. Plenty. Only he wasn't guilty of it." "How you talk. Not guilty."